What if the reason you have almost no friends is not because something is wrong with you, but because something is extremely rare about you? What if the loneliness you feel is actually evidence, not a flaw? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may realize you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand apart. If you have ever looked around and quietly asked yourself why friendships never seem to last, why people slowly drift away without explanations, or why you feel deeply different even when you try to belong, this moment is not random, and this message is not accidental. Something about this topic touches you personally because it speaks to an experience you have lived, not imagined. Chosen ones often walk a lonely road, not because they are flawed or distant, but because their inner wiring does not synchronize with the rhythm of the crowd. Your presence operates on a different frequency, and not everyone can remain close to what they do not understand. Today, we are revealing 5 rare traits, found almost exclusively in chosen ones, traits that quietly explain why your circle is small or, at times, almost non-existent. As each one unfolds, something subtle will begin to shift inside you. The confusion will soften, the self-blame will dissolve, and in its place, clarity will begin to rise. By the end of this journey, you will no longer question what is wrong with you. You will recognize what has been awakening within you all along. Before we go deeper, take a moment to like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment 99 below. Spiritually, 99 represents completion before elevation, the final number before a new level begins. By writing it, you are signaling readiness for understanding, alignment, and the next phase of your calling. Stay with me, because what comes next will connect dots you didn't even know were related. There is a reason conversations feel different to you, and it starts the moment you enter a room. Before words fully land, before smiles finish forming, you already feel what is underneath. You sense the tension behind politeness, the hesitation behind enthusiasm, the motives hiding beneath compliments. This is not imagination. This is perception sharpened by something deeper. Chosen ones see through people quickly, not because they judge, but because they register truth faster than most are comfortable with. While others listen only to what is said, you listen to what is avoided. While others focus on appearances, you feel intention. That speed of awareness changes everything. It turns ordinary interactions into something heavy, because you are processing layers most people never notice. This ability creates an invisible distance early on. You may laugh, engage, and even connect on the surface, yet something inside you remains alert. You catch subtle contradictions, energy shifts, emotional leaks, a warmth that suddenly cools, a story that doesn't fully align. And once you notice it, you cannot unsee it. That's where exhaustion begins. Not because you dislike people, but because pretending not to notice feels like lying to yourself. Surface-level friendships require you to ignore your own perception, and doing that drains you faster than solitude ever could. You don't crave more people. You crave clarity. You crave truth. You crave interactions that don't require mental translation. Most people don't realize how exposed they feel around someone like you. Your presence highlights what they would rather keep hidden, even when you say nothing at all. You don't need to confront, question, or accuse. Simply being aware is enough. Some feel inspired by that level of authenticity. Others feel deeply unsettled. They sense that masks won't last long around you, that emotional shortcuts won't work, that performative versions of themselves won't be enough. And rather than stepping into honesty, many choose distance, not out of cruelty, but out of self-protection. This is where misunderstandings are born. You may be labeled intense, distant, hard to read, or even intimidating. In reality, you are simply present, fully present. And presence has weight, especially in a world built on distraction and avoidance. When you look at someone, you're not just seeing them, you're recognizing them. That recognition can feel confronting to those who have spent years avoiding their own reflection. So friendships don't fade because you failed. They fade because clarity disrupts comfort, and not everyone is willing to trade comfort for truth. What makes this trait rare is not the ability itself, but the courage to live with it. Many people sense truth briefly, then bury it. You don't. You carry it. You integrate it. You trust it, even when it costs you connection. And that choice quietly reshapes your social world. You end up with fewer people, not because you are unlovable, but because you are unfiltered by illusion. And illusion is what most relationships rely on to survive. Here's the part few talk about. This trait isn't meant to isolate you forever. It's meant to protect you until alignment arrives. The people who can stand near your awareness without shrinking, without pretending, without performing, are rare. But when they appear, they don't drain you. They stabilize you. They don't disappear when seen. They become clearer, and that difference will matter more than quantity ever could. Hold on to this, because the next trait goes even deeper, and it explains why this pattern didn't start recently. It started long before you realized it was shaping your entire path. There is a silent moment that happens for you in almost every interaction, a moment others rarely notice but you feel immediately. It's the instant you realize a connection is being maintained, not lived. Words are exchanged, smiles appear, jokes land, yet something feels hollow. That hollowness is not negativity, it is discernment. You don't tolerate fake connections because your inner world cannot survive on borrowed energy. Small talk doesn't just bore you, it drains you. Forced laughter doesn't just feel awkward, it feels heavy, like wearing a costume that doesn't belong to you. Pretending, for you, isn't social flexibility. It feels like betrayal to the core of who you are. This is why silence often feels safer than conversation, not because you lack warmth, but because your warmth is real, and real things cannot be switched on and off for convenience. You don't want to be partially known. You don't want to be vaguely included. You want to be understood or left in peace. That standard immediately separates you from most environments built on performance and surface harmony. While others bond through routine interactions, you bond through truth, and truth takes time, courage, and emotional availability. Very few people are willing to offer all three. From the outside, this gets misread. People may assume you are distant, guarded, or uninterested. Some may even feel rejected by your quiet withdrawal. What they don't see is the depth of loyalty you carry. When you recognize authenticity, you commit with a seriousness that doesn't fade easily. You don't collect people, you choose them. And once chosen, you protect the connection with intention, presence, and honesty. But that loyalty is reserved. It is not handed out casually. It cannot survive in spaces where everyone is replaceable and nothing is sacred. This is where the tension grows. Fake connections rely on mutual pretending. They survive because no one looks too closely. But your nature looks closely by default. And because you refuse to play along, those connections collapse around you without confrontation. You don't end them dramatically. They simply can't sustain themselves in your presence. Conversations slow, invitations stop, energy shifts, and suddenly your circle is smaller again. Not because you pushed anyone away, but because false bonds cannot anchor themselves to someone who lives in truth. There is also something deeper happening beneath this pattern. Your nervous system is highly attuned. You feel emotional incongruence physically. Your body reacts before your mind explains. This is why prolonged, inauthentic environments leave you exhausted, irritable, or disconnected. You are not antisocial. You are energetically selective. Your system is designed to preserve integrity, not popularity. And in a culture that rewards constant interaction, that design looks like isolation, even when it's actually self-respect. What makes this trait rare is not the preference for depth, but the willingness to endure solitude instead of settling. Many people sense falseness, feel the discomfort, and stay anyway. They trade authenticity for belonging. You don't. You walk away internally long before you walk away physically. And over time, that choice reshapes your social landscape. Fewer birthdays remembered, fewer group chats, fewer casual check-ins, but also fewer compromises of your spirit. Here's what most never realize. This trait is training you. It's sharpening your ability to recognize alignment instantly when it appears. Because when a real connection finally enters your life, it won't feel heavy. It won't require performance. It won't drain you. It will feel calm, grounding, and strangely familiar, as if you've been waiting for it without knowing why. And when that moment comes, you'll understand why everything fake had to fall away first. Stay with me, because the next trait explains why even the strongest bonds sometimes disappear right when you start becoming more of yourself. There comes a moment when you realize the shift didn't start outside of you, it started within. Your thoughts began to change. Your reactions softened or sharpened. Your tolerance for chaos decreased. Your questions became deeper, and without announcing it, you started growing. This kind of growth is quiet but disruptive. It doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't wait for company. Chosen ones evolve quickly because reflection comes naturally to them. You examine yourself honestly. You question patterns. You integrate lessons instead of repeating cycles. And that speed creates a gap that others don't immediately notice, but eventually feel. Your growth acts like a mirror, and mirrors make people uneasy. Not because they reveal flaws loudly, but because they reveal truth silently. When someone is around you, they become aware of what they've postponed, numbed, or avoided. Your discipline highlights their procrastination. Your emotional awareness exposes their repression. Your willingness to change confronts their comfort with stagnation. You don't need to preach or correct. Simply becoming more yourself is enough to trigger discomfort in those who aren't ready to move, and most people would rather lose a connection than confront themselves. At first, the distance is subtle. Conversations feel slightly shorter. Shared humor doesn't land the same way. Topics that once bonded you now feel shallow or repetitive. You notice that when you speak about growth, purpose, or inner shifts, the energy drops. Not because your words are wrong, but because they demand a response others don't want to give. So they disengage emotionally long before they leave physically. And when they finally step back, it feels sudden to you, even though it's been building quietly for a while. This is where confusion often sets in. You replay interactions, wondering if you changed too much, too fast, or too visibly. You ask yourself if becoming more aware somehow made you harder to love. But the truth is sharper than that. You didn't become harder to love. You became harder to remain unchanged around. Growth disrupts unspoken agreements. The agreement to stay the same, to complain but not transform, to dream but not act. When you break that agreement, even unintentionally, relationships built on mutual stagnation begin to crack. What's painful is that many of these people once mattered deeply to you. You shared history, vulnerability, and time. But history alone cannot sustain alignment. And growth reveals which connections were rooted in proximity and which were rooted in resonance. Some people loved the version of you that didn't challenge their self-image. They were comfortable with your former limits. When those limits dissolved, they no longer knew how to relate to you without feeling exposed. So instead of adapting, they withdrew. This pattern is not punishment, it is recalibration. Every level of growth requires a different environment, and not everyone from your past is meant to accompany you forward. Chosen ones often experience accelerated cycles of connection and separation because their path demands refinement. The shedding is uncomfortable, but it creates space. Space for relationships that don't resist your evolution. Space for conversations that expand instead of shrink. Space for people who don't need you to stay small so they can feel safe. Here's the part that reframes everything. The ones who drift away are not being taken from you. They are being released from roles they can no longer fulfill. And the discomfort you feel right now is not loss. It's transition. You are crossing into a version of yourself that requires a different level of companionship. Hold on to that awareness, because the next trait reveals why this process often leaves you standing alone right before something significant begins to take shape. There is a quiet truth about you that most people never fully understand, and it reveals itself in moments when the noise fades. While others feel uneasy in silence, you feel restored. While others reach outward for reassurance, you turn inward for clarity. Solitude is not something you endure, it is something you choose. You recharge when the world slows down. Your thoughts deepen when distractions disappear. And unlike most, you don't require constant attention, affirmation, or external presence to feel complete within yourself. This independence confuses people more than you realize. In a world trained to equate visibility with value, your comfort with being unseen feels strange, even suspicious. People assume that if you are not constantly surrounded, something must be missing. They mistake your peace for loneliness and your calm for emotional distance. They don't see what's happening beneath the surface. They don't see that silence is where your intuition becomes louder, not quieter. That stillness is where your inner compass recalibrates. That distance from noise is what allows you to hear what actually matters. You are not avoiding people. You are protecting clarity. Solitude gives you space to process experiences fully, not just react to them. You revisit conversations, not to overthink, but to understand. You sit with emotions until they reveal their lesson. You reflect before you speak and observe before you act. This depth requires uninterrupted space, something modern life rarely allows. So while others chase stimulation, you step back. And that step back often looks like withdrawal to those who don't know how to be alone with themselves. What makes this trait rare is not the preference for solitude, but the strength it produces. When you are comfortable alone, you are no longer easily controlled by approval. You don't shape your identity around reactions. You don't perform for acceptance. You move from alignment, not applause. And that kind of self-containment unsettles people who rely on constant feedback to feel real. They don't know where to place you because you don't orbit their expectations. You stand centered in your own awareness. This is also why shallow social dynamics lose their grip on you. Group validation, status games, and performative connection feel empty. You're not impressed by numbers, volume, or attention. You measure connection by resonance, not proximity. And because solitude sharpens that discernment, you naturally step away from environments that dilute your focus. This is not rejection, it is refinement. You are narrowing your field so you can see clearly what belongs and what doesn't. There is a deeper purpose unfolding here. Solitude is not just rest for you. It is preparation. It's where insights form before they are shared. It's where decisions mature before they are acted on. It's where your next direction takes shape quietly, long before it becomes visible. While others assume nothing is happening because you are silent, something essential is being built within you. Something stable, something lasting. And here is the moment most overlook. When you don't need to be surrounded to feel complete, you become selective without being defensive. You allow people in not out of need, but out of choice. That changes everything. It changes the quality of your connections. It changes the power dynamic. It changes what you are willing to tolerate. And that shift is often misunderstood right before it is rewarded. Because the season of solitude you are in now is not empty, it is intentional, and what it's preparing you for will require a level of inner stability that only silence could have given you. There is a fundamental truth about you that reshapes everything once you see it clearly. You were never designed to move in clusters. Your nervous system, your perception, your inner rhythm were not built for constant stimulation or collective direction. Chosen ones are wired differently, and that difference becomes more visible the moment the crowd gathers. Where others feel energized by volume, you feel scattered. Where others find safety in numbers, you sense dilution. Your path requires clarity, strength, and focus, and crowds quietly weaken all three without anyone noticing. When too many voices surround you, your inner signal starts to blur. Opinions stack on top of intuition. Expectations creep in where purpose once stood. The crowd doesn't attack you directly. It overwhelms you subtly. It pulls your attention outward, away from the internal guidance that has always led you correctly. This is why environments filled with constant chatter, trends, and collective urgency feel wrong in your body before your mind can explain it. Your system knows that your direction cannot be negotiated by consensus. You are not meant to be accessible to everyone because accessibility invites interference. When too many people have access to you, your energy fragments, your time gets negotiated, your focus gets interrupted. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin adjusting instead of aligning. This is why blending in has never felt natural to you. It's not rebellion, it's preservation. You instinctively resist losing yourself to group identity because your calling requires individuality, not conformity. Noise is especially dangerous for someone like you. Not audible noise, but mental and emotional noise. Opinions disguised as advice. Projections masked as concern. Expectations framed as support. The more voices you allow into your inner space, the harder it becomes to hear the one voice that has never misled you. This is why you withdraw instinctively, why you limit access, why you observe before you engage. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. Your life requires fewer voices, but the right ones. And the right ones do not compete with your intuition. They don't demand constant availability. They don't rush your process. They don't dilute your vision. When these connections appear, they feel grounding instead of draining, clarifying instead of confusing. They don't pull you into noise, they protect your silence. And that is why they are so rare. Most people build friendships around proximity, habit, or shared distraction. You don't. Your connections form around alignment, shared values, mutual respect for solitude, similar pace of growth. That kind of resonance cannot be mass-produced. It takes time to recognize, it takes maturity to maintain, and it takes courage to wait for instead of settling for less. This is why your circle has always been small, even when you tried to expand it. Expansion without alignment never lasts for you. Here is the realization that changes how you see everything. The crowd was never rejecting you. You were quietly being redirected away from it. Every faded connection, every social dead end, Every season of standing apart was refining your environment to match your assignment. You are not meant to echo others. You are meant to move ahead, where fewer voices exist, but direction is clear. And once you understand this, something locks into place. The loneliness begins to make sense. The distance gains purpose, and you start to feel that what you thought was missing was actually making room. If you have almost no friends, this moment was never meant to make you feel small, forgotten, or left behind. It was meant to unlock something inside you that has been quietly waiting for permission to rise. What you have been experiencing is not absence. It is alignment forming beneath the surface. You were never abandoned by people. You are being separated from what could not go where you are going. And once you see that clearly, loneliness stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like initiation. You are not rejected, not overlooked, not misunderstood by accident. You are selected. Selected for a path that cannot be crowded, rushed, or diluted. A path that requires clarity when others seek comfort, strength when others choose familiarity, vision when others follow noise. Your solitude is not a flaw in your story. It is the quiet season where your inner foundation is being reinforced so it can carry what is coming next. Every connection that faded did so to protect your direction. Every distance you felt sharpened your discernment. Every moment you stood alone strengthened your ability to stand firm later. You were being trained to recognize alignment instantly, to protect your energy without guilt, and to trust your inner signal even when no one else validated it. That training was necessary because the level you are being called to cannot be sustained by shallow bonds or borrowed approval. The right people will not find you through force or searching. They will find you through readiness, through resonance, through timing. They will meet you at the frequency you have been quietly rising to, not the version of you that once tried to fit in. Until that moment arrives, honor who you are becoming. Guard your peace without apology. Choose alignment over access, and trust that the path unfolding beneath your feet knows exactly where it's taking you. Remember this, and let it settle deeply. Some people walk alone not because they failed to connect, but because they were chosen to move ahead, to clear the way, to see first, and to stand where few are willing to stand. If this message struck something deep inside you, comment, "I walk ahead" below. Let it be a declaration, not just a response. And share this video with someone who needs permission to stop shrinking and start understanding. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment you finally understand why it unfolded this way.